What would you do if someone walked into your workplace claiming to have $100 million, dressed like an average person? Would you believe them or dismiss them on the spot? The story will challenge how you see people and teach a lesson that's hard to forget. It was a bright Monday morning in downtown Atlanta, and Blue Ridge Bank was already bustling with activity. The newly appointed branch manager, Miss Susan Marley, sat at her desk, nerves buzzing. This was her dream job, a prestigious position that she had worked tirelessly to achieve. She was determined to prove her worth, and she believed today would be her moment to shine. The hum of conversations and clatter of keyboards filled the air when the glass doors swung open. A middle-aged man walked in, dressed in a simple shirt and jeans. There was nothing flashy about him. He looked like an ordinary person you'd pass on the street. Yet, he carried himself with an air of quiet confidence. He approached the counter calmly, offering a polite smile. "Good morning," he greeted. "I'd like to deposit a large sum of money into my account." Susan glanced up from her desk, immediately noticing him. Something about his appearance didn't sit right with her. Standing up, she walked over briskly. "Good morning, sir. I'll need your account details before we proceed," she said, her tone sharp but professional. The man nodded and handed her the account information without hesitation. "Of course," he said, maintaining his composure. Susan's eyes scanned the details on her screen. At first, she thought there must be a mistake. She leaned closer, lowering her voice to a whisper. "Are you sure these details are correct?" "Yes, they're correct," the man replied confidently. "You should also be prepared for the transfer. It's $200 million. For a moment, the air seemed to still around Susan. Her heart raced, and she stared at the man, searching for signs of a prank. Finally, she leaned back, crossing her arms. "Listen, sir," she said sternly, "we don't tolerate scams here. If this is some kind of joke, I suggest you leave before I call security." The man didn't flinch. "This isn't a joke," he said firmly. "Perhaps it would help if I showed you my business card." He reached into his briefcase, but Susan shook her head, stepping back. "No need for that. Scammers always carry fake cards. You think you can fool me? I've seen tricks like this before." Her voice rose slightly, and whispers began spreading among the other customers. Some shook their heads, while others simply watched the scene unfold in silence. "Ma'am, you're making a mistake," the man said firmly. Susan pointed a finger at him, her frustration boiling over. "People like you always try to game the system. You think you can just walk in here, claim to have millions of dollars, and expect us to believe you. Get out." The tension in the room was palpable when the glass doors opened again. This time, a tall man in a sharp suit entered the bank quietly. His presence was commanding, and though unnoticed at first, he had been listening intently to the entire exchange. Clearing his throat, he walked up to the counter. "What's going on here?" he asked, his deep voice cutting through the air like a knife. Susan spun around, her face flushing bright red. "Mr. Taylor," she exclaimed. "This man claims he has $200 million to deposit." "I was about to call security." Mr. Taylor raised an eyebrow. "And why would you call security for that?" "Because he's obviously lying. Look at him." Susan replied, her tone filled with disbelief. Mr. Taylor turned to the man, studying him closely. Then recognition lit up his face. "Mr. Daniels," he said, breaking into a warm smile. He extended a hand toward the man. "It's been a while. Good to see you." "Good to see you too, Taylor," Mr. Daniels replied, shaking his hand. Susan's mouth fell open. You know him," she stammered. "Of course," Mr. Taylor said smoothly. Turning to the curious onlookers, he gestured toward the man. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mr. James Daniels, the owner of Daniels Innovations and our bank's largest investor." The crowd gasped collectively, and Susan's face drained of color. "But," she stuttered, struggling to find the words. Mr. Taylor's expression darkened as he turned to her. "Let me make one thing clear. Mr. Daniels isn't just any client. His investments saved this bank during the last financial crisis. Without him, this branch wouldn't even exist today. Mr. Daniels remained calm, though a hint of disappointment flickered in his eyes. I was hoping to keep this visit low-key, he said. But it seems that's no longer possible. Mr. Taylor turned to Mr. Daniels with an apologetic look. On behalf of Blue Ridge Bank, I deeply apologize for the way you've been treated. This is unacceptable. Then he faced Susan, his voice colder now. You've been here for only 2 weeks, and already you're disrespecting our most important clients. You're fired. Pack your things immediately. Susan blinked rapidly, tears welling up in her eyes. I didn't know, she muttered weakly. And what exactly does someone with $200 million look like? Mr. Taylor asked sharply. Susan opened her mouth but found no words. She turned and walked away, humiliated. As she left, the bank erupted in applause. Mr. Daniels turned to Mr. Taylor with a small smile. Thank you for handling this so professionally. Let's move forward with the deposit. Of course, Mr. Daniels, Mr. Taylor said, guiding him to a private office. The remaining customers buzzed with excitement, replaying the events in their minds. The lesson: never judge a book by its cover. Respect is owed to everyone, no matter their appearance. Thank you for staying with us till the end of this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button, it really helps us grow. And if you want to explore more fascinating tales like this, make sure to subscribe to Unfolded Tales Explained and tap the bell icon so you never miss a story. Your next favorite tale is just a click away.